Welcome to the Pizza Buffet, powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook here on the Hammer Betting Network. We're live on the Forward Progress YouTube channel and at Forward NFL on Twitter. This is the show where I run through today's NFL card, top to bottom, rotation number order. I'll lock in any bets that I think are still worth making, and I'll lock in all bets against Pinnacle's lines, as Pinnacle is the official sportsbook partner of the Pizza Buffet. Pinnacle, the world's sharpest sportsbook, now available in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly. Not available in the US. I often preach line shopping. I think that's extremely important. I would never consider betting without Pinnacle being one of my main sportsbook accounts because of the low hold. Win more, lose less, betting with Pinnacle. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, I will see your comments in real time. I may also be a little bit distracted as I do have the Canada-Croatia World Cup match on in the background here as well. But the show does move on. If you are on Twitter, watching through Twitter, that's okay as well. Just know that I won't see your comments in real time. I will not be able to answer any of the questions you have. They just go out into the abyss. So please jump over to the Forward Progress YouTube channel if you want to get in on the conversation in real time. If you do find value in the show, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube, or at the very least, smash that thumbs up, that like button. We will get into it for today. Lots of people in the chat already posting their bets for the Canada game, and I think we actually have three opposites as the first three bets. Canada under 2.5, over 2.5, and both teams to score. Lots of stuff. Wow. Wow. There we go. Already off to a great start. That was quick. Man, very happy to see that. First Canadian goal in the World Cup. Pretty incredible thing to watch live. Appreciate everyone who's in the chat today. I promise I will get through the entire card. I'm just pretty, shocked that things happen this quickly. Love to see it. Onside as well. Whew. There we go. All right. Maybe it's a sign of things to come for today. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. All right. For today's card, I will get into it. Every single game, like I mentioned. Lots of, based off of how I see the line shaping up right now, we're looking at another one of those days where we will have a lot of smaller plays. That's most likely what's going to happen here, is a lot of small plays today. I'll give my actual numbers on games, and we will get into it. All right, let's get this started. Pulling up Betstamp here. You can download Betstamp on Android or iOS. You can also check out the website betstamp.app. So Tampa Bay, Cleveland. Market's kind of settled in here at -3, -116 at Pinnacle, -3.5 everywhere else. Total at 42. So I'll talk about this game. We still don't know the status of Vita Vea. I searched it about a minute before coming on air. So this is going to impact whether or not I do bet the Buccaneers here. And right now we don't know. This is a game with scattered showers. Models early this morning indicating it could be late arriving for the game. So it looks like early on in this game, not too bad in terms of rain. Later on, a little bit more rain. It's going to be breezy, sustained winds, 10 to 15 miles an hour, gusts up to 25. So keep that in mind when you are betting this game. The Browns still without Greg Newsome in the secondary. The Bucs without Leonard Fournette. I actually think that's a sneaky upgrade for them. Rashad White played great against the Seattle Seahawks prior to the bye. Gio Bernard's there as well. Keyshawn Vaughn as well. But like I mentioned, Vita Vea, questionable. That's the one to watch. He was DNP limited in practice this week. If he misses this game, the Bucs could have issues with slowing down Nick Chubb. I'm not saying that they will, but they could have issues with slowing down Nick Chubb. Another contributor to the Hammer, Clev TA. You can follow him on Twitter at Clev TA. Thought he brought up something really good on his Twitter account this morning, something that's kind of gone under the radar. But since with Akeem Hicks in the lineup, Tampa Bay's run defense looks very different. They're the number one team in terms of EPA per rush in the NFL when he's in the lineup. When he's out of the lineup, they are 30th. You got the Cleveland Browns with the starting starting a third string center. So if Vea and Hicks are both in there, I do not like the chances of the Browns being able to move the ball in this game. When we look at Cleveland stepping up in class against good run defenses, New England, Miami, they got creamed in those matchups as well. So I think this is a decent game for the Bucs. I would like to see the status of Vita Vea before locking in a bet. I think the market will move rather quickly on this one. So Bucs or nothing. I'll wait, like I said, but if Vea is active and he's expected to play, I think the -3, -116 is playable in this game. All right. Game number 2. Bengals and Titans. So this has seen movement back and forth over the course of the week. Let's see where the recreational books are at right now. We're pretty much in the same spot with Cincy as a small favorite. Pinnacle and Tennessee offering the exact same price on the money line, -105 both ways, and the total of 43. I had strong leans to Cincinnati and the over earlier in the week, but with the downgrade in terms of Jamar Chase being able to play, his health, then completely different story here. There are light showers possible. We're looking at 15-mile-an-hour winds at kickoff. That'll go down over the course of the game. Joe Mixon also out for the Bengals. I actually think that's an upgrade. I don't think there's a downgrade to P. Ryan. I actually really like P. Ryan in the passing game as well. So don't really put much stock into that. Some fantasy people might put some stock into that, but I personally do not. The Bengals offense has been very productive. I don't know if people realize it, but their production this year is actually higher than last season so far. Higher points per drive. Their EPA per drive is almost double what it was a year ago. Higher touchdown rate. 3-and-out rate is pretty much the exact same. But the Bengals have been way better in the red zone this year. They score touchdowns in the red zone 75% of the time. It was just 60% last year. The big difference is that they're getting the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands much quicker. He got sacked a ton in the red zone last year. He's only been sacked 2% of the time in the red zone this year. And this is going to be a real test for Tennessee's defense with Denico Autry out of this game. So be very interested to see what happens here. There is like an intangible effect with the Titans. You have Mike Vrabel, small sample, 9-0 against the spread when his team has had extra rest. That's something to take into account here. But I really don't know what to make of the Titans. I feel like I've been a little bit higher on them than market for a lot of the year. Now the market's starting to catch up a little bit. But I do think the Bengals are quite good. I release a power rankings every week that goes up on the Hammer, both on the Instagram account and the Twitter account as well. I often get questioned for why I have the Bengals as high as I do, which is 7th in the league. They're very good offensively. DJ Reader's back. Last week when they got him back, their defensive success rate with him on the field was 84%. When he was off the field, 46%. So pretty large gap there. I do make the Bengals -1.5 in this game. I make the total 43.5. I think there's obviously very, very marginal value on both the Bengals and the over in this game. But the Jamar Chase reaction, I mean, you can't discount what he is worth, which is quite a bit, in my opinion. And you've seen the market react twice this week on Jamar Chase news. So we'll leave it at that for now. Next game, Texans and Dolphins. All right. Texans, Dolphins, market settled at 14. Kyle Allen getting the start for the Houston Texans today. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here because I don't have a strong opinion. Really no one off of 14 unless it's a pretty heavily juiced price. And 47, another key total. So you've kind of hit like two key numbers where you're unlikely to see the market move any further. The Texans, 31st in EPA per drive, 30th in points per drive. It's hard to imagine it can get much worse. Maybe Kyle Allen sparks something. I personally doubt it. I don't know if there's much of a difference between Davis Mills and Kyle Allen. It's very tough to say because we're dealing with smaller sample size quarterbacks, but I don't think Allen is going to be the guy that gets them entirely back on track. Even like the scripted stuff for Houston has been very bad so far this year. They don't get out to good starts. And you look at the Dolphins, Tua is one of the best quarterbacks in the league on those mid-range throws, 10 to 20 air yards. He's by far the best quarterback in the league in terms of EPA per dropback. And the Texans allow a lot of explosive plays on these throws. League worst, 45.8% explosive play rate on throws in that range. You got Derek Stingley out again. I talked about this last week. He hasn't played well this year, but you got a team that can't defend opposing wide receivers against one that generates a ton of production out of their opposing wide receivers. I can totally see why the market has moved in on the Miami Dolphins here, and it's been one-way action. I think Sharps got burned with Houston last week. Probably do not want to go back to the well. You're not seeing any buyback there. So it is what it is. Nothing on that game. Still nothing so far. I'll do one more run through at the end of the show as more information becomes available on some stuff here. But again, still waiting on that Vita Vea status for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bears and Jets. Okay, so you got very good price on the 7 here at Pinnacle relative to all the other sportsbooks in market who are dealing like 7 minus 105s, plus 100s. You can take the plus 106 there. Other sportsbooks at 6.5, pretty much the exact same number. And if you were to use that drop down bar on Pinnacle, you would get 6.5 at pretty much best price in market as well. Total low in this game. So a lot to cover. Looks like the second half in this game is going to have an absurd amount of rain. And it's like just going to increase as the game goes on. So it should be barely raining looking at the forecast or the radar here. And as the game goes on, tons and tons of rain. That lends itself, like that type of game would lend itself more to taking the points with the underdog in that type of situation. But it's the Bears. I mean, there's some real problems with the Bears right now. Like if, the injuries in the secondary, they probably don't matter all that much in this specific game. Kyler Gordon is out. He hasn't been good this year anyways. Jaquan Brisker is out. He has been okay, pretty decent. But those are injuries that would matter a lot more if the game was being played in better weather. Ultimately, though, like the Jets offense is better than people realize. And Mike White starting this game is an upgrade because honestly, like at this point, Zach Wilson is playing because of where he was drafted. You look at the, 95 quarterbacks drafted in 2000 or later have started at least 20 games. Zach Wilson, 92nd out of 95 in EPA per dropback through those 20 starts. Mike White might still be bad, but he's an upgrade. He's an accurate quarterback. And the Jets offense comes in underrated because they're coming off of games where they played the Patriots, the Bills, the Patriots, the Broncos. Their O looks miserable because they're facing very good defenses. The Bears defense is a disaster. Since trading Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, they are horrible. By far the worst defensive metrics in the league. So I do think there's an opportunity for the Jets to move the ball in this game. Hopefully more so early before the weather gets really bad. Then it's going to turn into a running game. But regardless, I don't think the Bears can stop anything. And you take Justin Fields' production out of the Bears lineup, you're going to get poor quarterback play from Trevor Siemian. I think the market has reacted accurately to where this is going or like where the information in this game. But I could not bet the Bears, even though the weather would typically be attractive for an underdog in this type of role. Okay. Oh, this is a dad joke at its finest. Barely rating. Barely rating. Okay, let's keep going. So no plays not locked in yet. Nothing. If you joined late, you haven't missed anything. You missed Canada score an early goal against Croatia. I mean, you can have two screens going nowadays, people. I do appreciate everyone who's tuned in Once again, if you do enjoy the content, please just hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel so you get notifications on a weekly basis. All right. Atlanta and Washington. Let's do a quick refresh here. Okay, so market's kind of settled in at 3.5, 40.5. We'll see where other books are at. We still got some 4s in market at some of the square books, and 40.5 total, pretty much right across the board. Another game where we are going to see probably bad field conditions. We do have some heavy rain happening in Washington, like heavy rain. The field will probably be pretty bad. Rain's probably still going to be ongoing at kickoff. It'll slow down as the game goes on. We got Atlanta's left guard, Chuma Edoga, questionable. That would be a big loss on the O-line if he can't go. He's actually been really good this year. Have not seen a status update for him. I would urge everyone in the chat today, if you do see anything on Vita Vea or Chuma Edoga, please let me know. Kyle Pitts out matters. Since the start of last season, there's been 118 instances of a tight end running 100 or more routes. This year's Kyle Pitts was targeted on nearly 29% of his routes. That's the highest among all of these 118 individual seasons. He gets a lot of targets in the passing game. Now you take away a weapon. Atlanta, what they really want to do is run the ball. The problem is Washington has a very good run defense. I don't see a big path to success for the Atlanta offense in this game. But the Commanders do have some injuries as well. Benjamin St-Juste is out at corner. Logan Thomas missed Friday's practice. I believe he's going to miss this game as well. Chase Young, not expected back. I think he's dealing with an illness right now, which is not, why he's not in here. I just don't know what to make of Washington other than that. They're not a team that I want to bet to win by margin a whole lot. And I do think that at some point, turnovers will be a problem for the offense. Since week 7, Taylor Heineke took over as quarterback from Carson Wentz. The Commanders are playing really well offensively, but he also leads the league in turnover-worthy plays, which is a big problem going forwards. First play of last week's game against the Houston Texans, and he threw it like a bomb down the middle of the field right into the Texans safety's hands, and the safety dropped him. So I don't know. There's not a strong feeling on this game. Didn't really come close to playing it at any point. All right, we're going to circle back here. We're going to circle back really quickly as looks like Vita Vea is playing. Athlete shows Vea is active. Do a quick search. Don't want to make this terrible content for you guys, but just want to confirm. Bucks Vita Vea will be active today. Don't know if I trust this source, the Athlete Show. Gonna wait for a little bit more here. Gonna wait for a little bit more before I lock it in. Yeah. Gonna wait for a bit more. Connor, a good point on sample size. You can go back to previous years where he's been a pretty solid run defender and look at the snaps with him on and off the field for the Bears, particularly in the past as well. Okay, keep going. Still waiting on the Bucks. Still no plays for the early games yet. And there's not going to be one here either. Denver and Carolina. Denver and Carolina. Market at 1. Total 36.5. That lets you know what people think about these offenses right now. Wins not too bad. 10 to 15 miles an hour. Panthers without interior defender Matt Ioannidis. The Broncos still down. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, K'Wan Williams, not a huge loss with the depth they have at corner. There are several offensive linemen on IR. I don't know how they're going to necessarily block the Panthers' defensive front, but the Broncos also have a great defense. By defensive EPA per game, they have a defensive EPA of 5.77. That's the second best defense that Russell Wilson has ever played with. The only one that was better was 2013 when they won the Super Bowl. So the Broncos defense has been that good. Now it just comes down to Sam Darnold. Problem with Darnold, I think he's an upgrade over who they've thrown out this year. I think he's still terrible. I also think that he takes too long to throw the ball. This was his issue last year. When you look at the Panthers offense this year, they've allowed pressure at the second lowest rate in the NFL, 26%, but the quarterbacks have gotten the ball out of their hands fairly quickly. And Darnold did not do that last year. So remains to be seen if he can move the ball. Don't mind where the market has moved on this game at all. I think that's like, more than fair movement. But at this point, no, like I'm not going to really be interested in getting involved at this number. Essentially, like needing them to win whatsoever. Okay, questions about Vita Vea. So it's a good question because if you look at this year in particularly, Vita Vea has not been a good run defender. He actually has some pretty poor PFF grades, if I recall correctly, against the rush. The problem is I don't like to boil things down to just like one single season altogether. And when you actually do look at Vita Vea's career as a rush defender, he's been fairly good. He's a huge presence. Don't want any interior lineman to be out, starting interior lineman, especially against the Cleveland Browns, considering what they are going to try to do and what their game plan is going forwards. So that would be my thoughts on Vea. Listen, I mean, it's Tampa Bay or nothing no matter what. I'd just like to wait for a confirmation that he's in. That's all I'm getting at for that game. Okay, let's move on here to, we still don't have anything updated yet. We still don't have an update in that game. All right. Quick refresh here, and we will get to Baltimore and Jacksonville, the last of the early games today. I'm going to go with a double play here, which is unusual. Either I overvalue the Baltimore offense or I undervalue the Jacksonville defense. Regardless, I see value on Baltimore and I see value on the over. I'll play a base unit of 50 on both of those, and I will go ahead and track both of those. Jacksonville just isn't very good. I feel pretty confident in that. I don't know that a bye week is going to help them. They've been healthy for most of the year. That hasn't helped them. They have played a lot of close games. So maybe not, a lot of people might be deterred by the hook, but I think the game against Kansas City was very telling, where they generated 4 extra possessions in that game, 1 with a surprise onside kick, 3 via a +3 turnover margin, still ended up losing the game by 10. Doesn't look like weather will be too bad. You might get a small, there's a slight chance of rain. You do have Ronnie Stanley out, the left tackle for the Ravens, but Patrick McCarry is back there. They do have a competent left tackle. Lamar Jackson practiced Thursday, Friday, completely off the injury report. Wednesday, he had that hip injury. And I honestly just think that for those who watched last week, I obviously bet against Baltimore. I think that was a very inflated number against Carolina. But Baltimore had 7 possessions that went into Carolina territory. That ended in 6 total points for them. I think their offense comes in a little bit undervalued. And particularly in this matchup, the Jags have really struggled this year in defending opposing tight ends. They haven't been able to do it all year. I think that's a very good matchup for Mark Andrews overall. Now, the Ravens have impressed lately in terms of defense. Roquan Smith, defense getting healthier. They've been much better in defense, but this is a pretty deflated total, in my opinion. I think it's on the wrong side of 44. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, both of them, for half a unit. Okay, thank you for the chat. Do appreciate that. Let's get over. We'll play Tampa Bay, $75. Tampa Bay -3, -116. Was just waiting to finalize that. So should have 3 plays in there so far for the early slate, which is Tampa, Baltimore, and the over in the Ravens game as well, side and total. And we'll get into the late games now. Appreciate that from everyone in the chat. Chargers and Cardinals. Okay. It's been, I don't want to say once, it was mostly one-sided action on the Cardinals, 4.5 to 4, all the way down. This number did get through 2.5 at a lot of the sharper sports books, including Pinnacle. It kind of sits there right now when you consider the -3 plus 108 is the equivalent of a expensive -2.5. All right, the breakdown of the game. So Arizona left tackle DJ Humphries goes to IR. Byron Murphy, starting corners, out for them. They do have Rondale Moore still out, but Hollywood Brown looks like he's returning. So this is going to be the first time all season that you have Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. And Kyler Murray comes back now after the Mexico game in which he didn't play. Colt McCoy got that start. You have Mike Williams re-aggravating his high ankle sprain. Some defensive injuries for the Chargers as well. Nasir Adderley, Michael Davis. Nothing too extreme, but a couple of starters in the secondary. Now, to me, I'm kind of glad all this stuff worked out this way, I want to say. Oh, no. Okay, offside. Delayed. Sorry, guys. I'm watching Canada right now as well. Hopefully this is actually delayed. I think the market's moved too far on this. So I'm going to go for a small play on the Chargers. Base unit of $50 as well on this game. As long as one of Mike Williams or Keenan Allen has been on the field for the Chargers, they've been much more effective. So Justin Herbert, 324 dropbacks this year. With one of those two on the field, 6.9 yards per attempt. When neither's been on the field, 5.6 yards per attempt. I still don't think highly enough of the Cardinals. And the Chargers do have the better quarterback overall. Not sure that just the players coming back to the Cardinals lineup are going to make a heavy impact when they're still missing a stud left tackle in DJ Humphries and have a very lackluster offensive line. So I'm on the Chargers here. I think that there's a little bit of value in them at this price. Don't blame anyone who got those early numbers on on the Cardinals. Don't blame you at all. I even took the Cardinals in some football contests this week just because the 4.5 was there. But now we're to the point where I think the market has over adjusted on that team. Okay. Raiders and Seahawks. Gonna have a drink of coffee here. All right. Let's keep it going. So market for this is roughly 4 across the board. Still have some expensive 3.5s. Total 47.5. I have two leans in this game that are not worthy of a play, but they are to Seattle and they are to the over. It's tough. I do have a lot of leans to these short favorites today, and it's contrary to, in my head, what I want to do with the NFL this year, which is just like take the points, because there's not enough of a gap between a lot of these teams. Scattered showers in Seattle. What else is new? I think very important injury to watch for here is going to be the Raiders left tackle, Colton Miller, who has had a very good year. Without him there, I would upgrade the Seahawks quite a bit. The Raiders defense is terrible. Minus 6.21 defensive EPA per game. By that metric, this is the fourth worst defense Derek Carr has played with in his career. They have done one thing well, which is limit big runs. They've allowed explosive runs at the 7th lowest rate in the league. So this ultimately comes down to, what do the Seahawks do in this game? If they do try to run the ball consistently, I don't think that necessarily works in their favor. If they do pass the ball consistently, I do think they're going to win this game by margin, because the Raiders' pass defense is horrible. And when you consider the opposing offenses that they've faced, whether that's, Denver twice, Indy, Houston, Tennessee, they've played that division, New Orleans, they can't generate a pass rush. So, look at the games that Geno Smith has played this year against teams that can't generate a pass rush. That's the Lions. That's the Saints. They scored 32 against the Saints, 48 against the Lions. So I think Seattle's going to score in this game. That's where I'm getting it a little bit off. Ultimately, though, not 100% trust in their game plan for this game. And I could see them being pretty heavy run. Do you think 6.5 is too many points for the Jets? I've covered this game already. I would not bet the Bears at the current market price. Yeah. I think there's just too many matchup advantages for the Jets in that game. This one's going to be very brief. Give it a quick refresh. KC and the Rams. Big number, small total. Typically, that means that the points with the underdog are more valuable. I got a message this morning from a friend of mine, probably watching now. The message, word for word. This is going to be the squarest question I've ever asked you. But how are the Rams scoring a touchdown with Bryce Perkins, the worst O-line in football, and Van Jefferson as their wide receiver one? I do not have an answer for my friend in this game. I don't see the path to success for the Rams unless it's just one of those where the Chiefs are sleeping or the Rams comes up with a 99th percentile defensive performance. I still see a little bit of value in the Chiefs at this price. I'm not going to play it. That's not what I do. Once you get into games that are this price, there's all sorts of late game shenanigans that come into effect, but no real major thoughts on that game whatsoever. Kyle Hamilton inactive for the Ravens. Not someone who I expect to move the spread whatsoever, as my friend now messages me. Haha. Okay, still sweat in Canada here. 1-0, 31st minute. Okay, we'll get another play in here, another small one, as I mentioned would be the case over the course of the day. I like the Saints. Let's upgrade this to 75. I think there's enough value in this price to play a $75 play on the New Orleans Saints. This is actually nothing against the 49ers. I think the 49ers are legit. Really good football team. But this is the market, in my opinion, not correctly adjusting to the Saints getting a bunch of players back from injury. We don't know, for sure, but it does appear that Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport all will play this week. James Hurst, clear concussion protocol. That's a very different team than the one that took the field last week, which is horrible. I mean, he's no defensive players is a disaster. And I don't think the market has successfully accounted for that. Deebo Samuel looks to be in for Sam Fran. They do get Samson Ebukam back on the D-line. They're still without Eric Armstead, which I think is important because the one matchup advantage I could see for the Saints in this game is just really running the ball on the 49ers up the middle of the field. This could be heavy Taysom Hill package type of game, but I do think that they can be effective in doing that. Even if they are not, the 49ers, despite the fact that they won by margin last week, are not a team that I typically want to lay big points with because their coach is extremely conservative as well. Again, I could say lots of great things about San Fran, but we're betting the number in the game here in particular. And I think that this one is a little bit inflated. Short week, coming back from altitude. I don't even know if that matters. It might mean nothing, but that's just like a little hidden bonus because that game takes a little bit more out of you than a average game or could. So we'll go ahead and we will play the Saints as well. Did I miss something here really quickly? Really quickly, just getting updates on the Saints situation. Lattimore doubtful officially now. Okay, fair enough. Still, Cameron Jordan is in, almost certain. He had the eye injury, right? I think Marcus Davenport is going to play. Couple defensive linemen, very important. Mentioned this last week when we bet against the Saints, but you can't be missing like your entire D-line, like your two best players on the D-line, and expect to compete in the NFL. Do thank everyone, though, who posts stuff in comments as information becomes available. Packers and Eagles. I have not bet this game yet. I'm not going to lock in a play on this game yet. I'd like to see And unfortunately, we're not going to get it this morning. But I'd like to see the status of David Bakhtiari for the for the Packers on the O-line, who may not play. We do get Philly now kind of coming down to earth. They haven't covered in 3 straight games. But I'm still a little bit optimistic about them because this was a team that was heavily taken advantage of on the ground. That was the weakness. I do think Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh are going to be providing a big impact for them going forwards. Their 68% success rate against the run last week was the second best number the Eagles posted over the course of the entire season. Linval Joseph, Ndamukong Suh, only 18 snaps on the field. They gave up just 2.8 yards per carry. It's gonna have a major impact on this defense going forwards. And I don't think that the Packers have the passing game to just air it out with the Eagles. Romeo Doubs still out. They just don't have the receiving threats that they need to. If David Bakhtiari is out as well, I'd be pretty quick to rush into market here and bet the Eagles. Packers still don't have Devondre Campbell either. And if you look at like giving up long drives over the course of a year, the Packers have given up 11 drives of 80 plus yards. That's the worst in the league. That's kind of like what the Eagles can do. And yeah, it's Eagles or nothing. Eagles or nothing. Quick review of the game. Oh, no. That's disappointing. 1-1, 36th. It is what it is. We move on. Unfortunately, the worst part about this is I have Kramaric in my World Cup pool. I mean, it's not the worst part of it. I guess it's a consolation. Good ball in by Perisic there. Okay, I know you guys came for football, not for World Cup. Let's review the entire board so far. Quickly, my picks, which I will bring up. We're going to get some negative CLV. Lots of money pouring in on the Jags this morning. Maybe I just am undervaluing the Jags or don't see it there. But we got the 5 plays for today. Ravens in the over. Tampa -3, -16. Chargers -308. And the Saints +9.5. -109. Quickly, I will review the card and give my thoughts one more time here. Okay, Tampa, I think it's a good matchup for them. Cincy, Tennessee, slight leans to the Bengals and the over in this game, but not enough where I would consider betting them at the current market numbers. Miami and Houston really don't want anything to do with that game. The issue with laying the big number with Miami, in my opinion, is that their defense is very susceptible to backdoor in that one in particular. Chicago and the Jets. Talked about that one. Obviously, we know why the market has moved out towards the Jets. I think it's a matter now of where we're at. Do you want the Bears or not? I don't want the Bears. I think this is a bad stylistic matchup for them. Washington, Atlanta. I'd be very inclined to take the points with Atlanta if they were facing a team that doesn't clamp down on the run so well like Washington does. I make the game 3.5 as it is right now. So no opinion here. Denver, Carolina, I would rather bet my worst enemy's money. I wouldn't bet my worst enemy's money on this game. Nothing to do with that one. Baltimore, Jags, Baltimore in the over. Chargers, laid a small one on the Chargers. Again, a lot of these plays are like opposing the steam in the games. I mean, it is what it is, right? I can't. I'm using the Sunday morning numbers. Raiders and Seahawks. No strong opinion, but I do lean to the Seahawks and the over in this game. KC, Rams, no thank you. Played the Saints. Interest in the Eagles, -6.5, -110. Do I like the Steelers? I'll talk about this more tomorrow night with Eric Eager when we do primetime. But yes, I lean to the Steelers. I make that number very close to 1. Colts 1-point favorite in that game. Now we're getting into the soccer questions. I don't know. Would you consider both teams a score punt in the Spain-Germany game? I'm just tailing random. I'm playing like It's the most recreational betting I'll do over the course of an entire year with the World Cup. I think a lot of people think that Spain and Germany are just going to play to a boring draw now because that's like the result that works well for both teams. I don't agree with that necessarily. It's the World Cup. Still think, especially Spain tries to go for a win, knock out Germany. I don't necessarily agree with the sentiment that they're just going to play a boring draw at this point, but maybe I'm completely wrong about that. All right. More on the Hammer over the course of the day today. 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Myself, Fabian Sommer, Suma, we will break down the Sunday night football game. Actually, you know what? He could probably give his thoughts about Germany, Spain as well. Post-match recap as well of Germany, Spain, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And then we'll be on again at the half. And then, of course, for those who are on the Forward Progress channel right now, I'm back on Forward Progress, 10:30 Eastern time, live tonight. Myself, Clive Bixby. Please join us. I think it's a great show. We recap the day. We look ahead to next week. We try to predict where the lines are going to move over the course of the week. I think we've been pretty good at doing that. A few misses on last week's show, but for the most part, I think we've been doing pretty well with that overall. And of course, if you do enjoy the content, please hit that thumbs up on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It does help and does allow us to continue doing this content, producing it regularly for you guys going forwards. I'm going to settle in, watch the rest of Canada, Croatia. Please root for the Canadians with me. Would be huge if we can pull out 3 points in this game, or at least just stay alive for that final match against Morocco. Once again, this has been the Pizza Buffet presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. If you are in Ontario, make sure you check out Pinnacle. It is a world-class sportsbook. Absolutely highly recommend it. I'll be back tonight on the Hammer HQ, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Till then, good luck with your bets. Enjoy the day, everyone. Peace.